Welcome to RevCast, a Civilization podcast focused on its console platforms. elthrasher,
Duke Lou, 1987.
ScottieX.
By the way, this is my 30th episode of RevCast, which I think is more than I expected.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Recorded for episode 39.
If you think the other guy is going to go turn 1 to settle, hammer out the warrior, and take the barb, and you see him settle on turn 2, right? You've settled on turn 2. Now you stop and you flick over to the tech and have a look at the tech and just see if he pops one extra tech. And if he does, you don't want to pop that barb because you're going to get alpha or something. Probably pottery.
Every time? Wait a sec. Oh, he got a tech out of his barb. That's what you're saying.
Yep. He got a tech out of his barb, you're going to tech out of your barb.
You think that's guaranteed?
Well, close enough to guaranteed to be something you check every time.
I think it's close to guaranteed, but I've had games where one of us will be like, I just got pottery, and the other one's like, I just got 50 gold. Yeah. I mean, I think that happens, where someone gets a terrible reward and the other one gets a good reward. But I think that it's not uncommon for both players to get equal level rewards. But I mean, I can remember pretty well a game, I was the Arabs playing against a decent Spanish player. My barbs went 50 gold, 50 gold, 50 gold, and he got a tech or something like that. So I destroyed him because
I used this strategy once to completely destroy another guy. I watched his thing, I saw the tech go, and then I just went bang, 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 and got like about 3 techs in a row. In order to just go straight up the tech tree, something like that, when I know I'm going to get techs, and I can just send them to whatever the tech is.
That's something you should maybe consider doing, is if your opponent settles and then suddenly gains a tech, and you look and you see that alphabet's gone or something like that. Yep. Okay, so now you know either A, he's a terrible player, or B, more likely, he got it from a barb. So then you can say, okay, I need to set my tech to horseback riding, or maybe bronze working, if get legions or something like that out. If you think you can get 2 techs, and you think that you can do something cool with legions really early, you could go that route. But I'd probably just try to get horseback riding out of the barb. Then at least you can save 5 turns. You don't have to tech that, and you don't have pottery. So
my experience with barbs don't give you the tech you're teching.
The thing I'm concerned about there, whether the barb will just give you just whatever.
Barbs are more random.
Barbs feel like they're out to get you when it comes to techs. Like 1 turn from teching a tech, I usually get it. If I'm not, I get...
Yeah.
That's what it feels.
And they love that pottery.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of an indication of the French being in the game.
Yeah, it is. That's why they love it, but still.
I don't think it always happens, but I think that happens more. I think you're more likely to get a tech that someone else has. And I think that's probably why you're more likely to get a tech when the other guy gets a tech, just because you're more likely to get a tech. Now there's another tech that somebody has, and so now you're more likely to get a tech because someone else has a tech.
Well, in my experience, it's very often. But anyway, I mean, it may be that I envisage it as sort of like the seeding thing. When it adds new things, those things become available straight away. So the adding of the extra tech means that tech is sitting at the top of the pile, the selection, when you hit a barb.
Yeah.
How often do you guys just bank the tech?
Almost always bank the tech unless I have something I want to do fast at the beginning of the next turn.
I don't do that very often. I'm most likely to with England, because if I find that I'm really close to my opponent, then I might want to build longbow archers instead of horsemen. Mm-hmm. Because if you stick those on your opponent's trees, then they're never coming off.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm close to my opponent and don't necessarily have a lot of gold. But otherwise, I pretty much know I want horseback riding. But yeah, that can be a problem. That's annoying. We have 16 beakers in the tech, and then you get it for free.
After the first 10 turns, I'm always picking an actual tech to tech. Unless you've got a bunch of horse armies out, you're really not taking that many barbarian huts at that point. It's just in that early game where it can really hurt you losing 3 or 4 turns wasted on something.
Well, the other thing to do is I settle. I know I want horseback riding, so I set my tech to horseback riding. 2 turns later, I find a friendly village, so I can just change my tech over to bronze working or something like that. See if it gives me bronze working, then switch back to horseback.
It's usually my strategy, so you don't waste the tech time.
When you pop the barbarian hut, you may well switch your tech to bronze and get horseback riding anyway.
Right.
Improving your odds, probably.
I think that's fairly rare, though.
Now, on an island, are you willing to settle with no food squares, like the mainland? Then you're kind of screwed.
Depends on how small the island is, really. If it's really tiny, then I think I'm more likely to settle with food. Which I know sounds weird, but if it's larger, then it seems like...
You're bound to find something?
I'm bound to find something.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I start a game with one of you. Bam, I'm on a tiny, insignificant, stupid little island.
You call the 7-tile island rule restart.
No. But I have to win this game because I've bet $10,000 on it. No, I'm just kidding. I build a galley, and I find the 7 cities of gold, and that's basically one of the only things that can save the game for me. Now I actually want to use that food so that I can expand. Maybe. I could try to bring Horse Army to the mainland, and that could work out well.
You can be saved. You've got a galley and you're wandering around. You've chucked 3 warriors on it, let's say, to 1 warrior, and then you've gone and gold, and you come back and got a couple more and gone around. And then you get Anchor Wash, and you switch to Fundy. Now you've got a legion on your galley, and you're starting.
Yes.
You've got something pretty decent. Now you can actually drop them off next to our city and have a shot at taking it.
That's true. What am I doing back home while I'm doing this?
Well, yes. You're kind of a bit short on options back there, aren't you? Are you going to tick up to ironworking or something?
Ironworking, or I could be building a settler. That's what I'm saying. If my home base is on this totally remote island, and there's no way I can build units there for any meaningful effect to bring to the mainland, then that's the time that I'm thinking about the 10-turn settler.
Yeah, I'm saying build a settler you feel comfortable on an island because you don't have to waste money or time or turns building defensive units.
And you really don't have anything better to do.
Yeah.
And you don't need defenses at all, because if your opponent comes, what are you going to have, a bunch of archers? I mean, you can have a horse army to patrol your 8-tile island. I mean, come on. No. You have an island start. You have no easy access to any AI. You have no barbs to get, not much for resources. But on turn 9, you get the 7 cities of gold. You can try to expand. You can try to build a bunch of units. I think there's some options there. But you're still playing from behind, even with 7 cities of gold. And if your opponent gets 7 cities, then you might as well quit.
You've come and you've settled next to a cap, and you've put your warrior down there. The outmaneuvering of the AI is great.
Yeah, we could do a show on that, really. It's tricky. You have to get a feel for it.
Yep.
Because if the AI knows you're there, and it sees you move your warrior toward the cap, it'll retreat and try to block you, or try to get back in the cap so you don't get the walk-in. But you can kind of trick it. Like, if you get the timing just right, and you'd be like, hi, I'm just heading over here. I'm not any kind of threat. Then the warrior will walk away, and then if you can come back and get ahead of it, get to the cap before 3000 BC, where it builds the second warrior, then you can walk in. And it's kind of hard to pull that off. It's kind of hard just to have everything set up right. But it's awesome if it works, because that warrior will follow you back and be like, hey, where are you going? Sorry, man, you're too late. The other thing is that the AI will stupidly attack a barb instead of going home to defend itself. So that can work out for you in your favor.
And every now and then it'll just walk out, despite the fact you've got your army next to the capital.
Every now and then something inexplicable will happen. Ever walk-in is 2000 BC. I came up on an AI cap that had not met anyone and was completely empty at 2000 BC. I've seen that twice, I think.
A lot of times when that happens, they'll move their archer army out with a settler.
But
no.
They also do this teleporting thing, so it could be there's an army with a settler on an island somewhere, or whatever.
Could be. Could be something like that.
Don't forget that the AI is the biggest cheater of all.
The AI won't freeze it when you're winning.
You're right.
Obviously, they figured they couldn't program the programming for the galleys, so they just teleport across ocean and then place unit settlers.
Well, yeah, I mean, this stuff happens, but the solution is just wipe them all out, then you don't have to worry about them.
Exactly.
So aside from our little maneuvering there, and also attacking their warrior in order to double wound it, and then stupidly heal instead of getting back.
Yes, you can attack the warrior just to wound it, so that it'll sit there healing while you go and walk in the city, and the warrior's like, "Hey, I'm on a break. Union rules."
Yeah, I'm good.
As you would after you were injured. So aside from that, I suppose when they do get their warrior in, just before we arrive. Maybe they'll seen us and walk back again. We're settling, building out a warrior army and just completely committing to going for the capital, are we? Or are we going for...
Oh, I hate that. It's a tough choice. Either way is kind of bad. Okay, so the worst possible thing is you hammer out a warrior army, you bring it to the AI capital, and then you lose. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's not the worst thing. The worst thing is you hammer out a horse army, bring it to the AI capital. If there's one AI warrior defending at 2.5, and it's not Aztec, don't do this against the Aztecs, Duke. There's a hilarious post on the forum where Duke is freaking out and like, I couldn't possibly wound it. It was just wouldn't wound no matter what I did. And I was like, was it the Aztecs?
Oh, yeah.
You bring 3 individual warriors to the AI capital. You attack with the first one to wound. Retreat before you die. You must retreat before you die, or it's bad. Attack with the second one. Retreat before you die. Then form the army with the third one, and then you have the full strength of 3 attack against, or 1/3 of 2.5, and you'll win.
A lot of times I'll do that with just one warrior, and then form the army just to save that extra turn.
Yeah, that can work too. I would wait till I had all 3 there, unless I was either veteran or on a hill, though.
Right.
You're not guaranteed to wound on the first.
Agreed.
I mean, in addition to the fact that you can cause wounds while making the effects of your own wounds negligible, you also play in the fact that the game will tend to give you good odds followed by bad odds followed by good odds. You're making 3 attacks, and the odds are that at least one of those attacks will be lucky for you.
True.
Several times I've actually brought my 3 warriors there, attacked with the first one, retreated, attacked with the second one, and won.
Yeah, and then you get an automatic level up almost always.
Yeah,
So, then you've got all your units separate. So if these are only 3 units on the board, you can go in all separate directions.
And then you can go in different directions, or you can form the army if you feel like you need to. That's an okay outcome. The where you need to actually hammer out all 3 warriors to take out the AI that's really bad. It puts you so far behind, and if your opponent is nearby and builds a horse army, you're dead. Unless you're just lucky with that. You might be able to do something, because at least you have a warrior army.
Are you going to go all 3 straight farm, or are you going to send one out in another direction, hope to get some gold and map knowledge? Or
Depends.
I think this is just a bad idea in the first place. You don't settle next to an AI civilization unless you're either A, close to a barb hut, or B, have already found a friendly hut.
Well, your problem is this is a scenario where you've committed yourself to walking. You've bumped into them.
Yeah.
And
you don't want to go back where you came from. You just waste more time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to go ahead and kind of put down.
So maybe you tried for the walk-in, but it just went wrong for some reason. The AI somehow noticed you as you
got there too late, or the warrior was spooked and wouldn't come back out, or something.
Yeah, or figured the warrior must be 2 turns away, but actually he was 3 turns away. Actually, he was only 1 turn away. Get the other guy.
Turns around and walks right back in. Yeah, I got you.
Yep. And sometimes when it comes to a walk-in, you just have to play your luck, and you hope that the warrior doesn't walk in your direction. You can't go all the way around. So you just say, okay, if he walks toward me, then maybe you could attack that warrior if you had a hill or something like that. If he walks in the other way, then you let him get some distance and then walk in.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you meet up with them 2 tiles away from the capital, both of you are 2 tiles away, they'll usually just walk right by you, in my experience.
Yeah.
Lucky situation, though.
You've walked, you've settled, because it was the best you had, and you really have 3 choices at this point. You can try to kill the AI with warriors, you can try to kill the AI with horsemen, or you can just have a neighbor.
Have a neighbor.
Be okay with it. At least for a while.
If they're popping in and out like it's early in the game, then a lot of times you can catch them with the 3 to 2.0 and instead of the 3 to 2.5, and you've got real good odds for that.
Well, either way, I mean, still you're bringing in 3 warriors.
Yeah, so it's best to bring the warriors in separate.
I think I'll pretty much always go for warriors. If I had very little gold and it was Germany who will defend at 3 instead of 2.5, I don't like that. Yeah. I mean, that doesn't sound like a winning situation. I'm going to have to try to find my luck elsewhere, I think. And coming back with horsemen is also pretty dodgy. If you have no experience on them, and it takes a while to build them because you didn't get much gold, I don't like settling next to an AI cap with the idea of taking it with horses, unless I'm doing well in gold. But if I'm doing well in gold, then why wouldn't I just use warriors? So I don't know.
Yeah.
One of the worst things that could happen is that your opponent comes and takes it, and then has a strong city right next to you.
Unless you have some units close to it at the time. Big trick to have the other guy come around, take the city on the other side of him, and then you kill his unit that just took the city.
And you got a warrior army on the hill.
Yeah.
That's great.
There's now a city down and a horse army down. He's basically gone.
I mean, we've all been burned by that. We're like, ooh, an AI cap, and then suddenly you see the animation of someone else's army destroying yours and taking the city.
But I mean, I've let people take my cities all the time so I can destroy their, units.
That's right. It's more important to kill the unit.
It's kind of like Grayson. He was good at chess. It's almost like a big chess game. You're just trying to outsmart your opponent with your offensive units and out of the way so that you can take advantage of the space.
That's right. And in the early game, you almost will never care about giving up a tech.
Mm-hmm.
There are a few techs I would want to try to protect: navigation, monarchy, and religion.
I only try to get navigation unless I've got, a possibility to get the East India Company early. I know how powerful it can be, but I'm just never trying to get that as the bonus.
Navigation is awesome.
Galleons are very powerful.
I think some other routes just seem to be more important to me.
But, I mean, speaking of religion, if you've got the Arabs coming after you, if you can drop back behind the city and do the counterattack, you've negated their religion. Just empty your city out, counterattack.
Yeah, they don't get any defensive bonus. You don't want to beat the Arabs by having strong defensive units.
No,
that's
not at all.
Not a very good way to go.
Recorded for episode 41.
The strategy of a couple of guys who've been quite successful, as I've seen in the tournaments recently, much more defensive strategy.
Kind of what we call turtling, which is not necessarily cowardly hiding your head and hoping that the bad guys go away, but it's defending what you have and building up to a stronger attack later in the game. Would you agree with that's what turtling is?
It's not about just hunkering down and hoping that the other guy goes away. Got to have a plan in there.
Yeah, it's still an aggressive strategy. It's just a slower aggressive strategy. Yep. And I know what Liam liked. He'd like to use the Japanese, and he liked to build samurai knights and often back them up with cruisers.
Yep.
Which are adding plus 13 to attack and defense.
Yeah.
Which makes them for some pretty powerful guys who are going to shrug off Legion counters pretty easily. So, I mean, I can see that. So the conflict here is that the super aggressive, the Neanderthal players is trying to destroy him before he can get anywhere near that.
Yep.
But he's going to have some nicely defended cities on the mainland with lots of units, and then he's going to have some island cities and expand a little bit, and he's going to tech up, just going after the techs he needs, not doing the smorgasbord approach. But, I mean, he wants to get feudalism, and he wants to get steam power. And he's going to go through that, and he's going to try to get there pretty quickly while fending off your attacks. And, when we go for the Legion attack, a lot of times we're like, this is endgame. I have a lot of Legions. It's early. I don't need to tech. I don't need to do anything other than bring these Legions over and kill you with them. So he's going for a tech advantage, and he'll probably have it if he survives the attack. Yeah, so you're saying that this has been successful? Well,
it's been at least more successful than it was originally, and I mean, and Forum is one.
Shall we say, in the face of some conventional wisdom?
Yeah, in the face of some conventional wisdom. But there's a good point that this may just be just a counter for a specific attack. That a little revision on the side of the aggressive party may allow them to deal with those strategies. Maybe the fact that if you can spot that the guy is going to apply that strategy and he's going to build up some good defenses early on, that you use your legions and your aggression to shut him down from his expansion and allow you to expand out the back of your empire and control map space rather than actually going for that attack on the city. These sort of adjustments to your strategy that you might do.
There is no unified, all-powerful strategy in Civ Rev. In any good strategy game, like chess, there's no, super move to make in chess where you're like, he did the super move, I'm going to lose now. That's a tic-tac-toe level strategic notion, I think. A game like Civ Rev can't have that. There's always going to be some counter for whatever you're doing, so that means that we can ride the cutting edge of the best and brightest of the forum, doing everything exactly to a T, going hyper-aggressive, walk in on, some good civ, or a horse rush, parlay that into a legion rush. And if our opponent plays exactly the way we expect him to, then we're going to win. So his number one job is to do something a little bit unexpected. and to fly in the face of conventional wisdom. And I think that's kind of always true, and that when we develop and utilize a strong strategy, we can sometimes become a little bit complacent and simply operate on autopilot.
Stopping at the tech tree and checking what he's doing and all the other little details that maybe should be keeping an eye on to realize that little hint that the guy is going to be ready for us when we come at him.
Uh-huh. Or simply just doing some extra scouting. I'll make sure that you are doing the thing that I'm assuming you're doing.
Yep.
Because if you're not doing that, if you're doing something completely different, and I'm just not bothering to check, there's that as well.
That seeing that little piece of extra map that he might or might not be building some cities in, or he might or might not be using for some other purpose, or all of these sort of things.
I can remember a game that you and I had. I think we both Egypt or something. It doesn't matter, but I had a slightly better start. And you hunkered down for my attack, and I didn't attack you, and then I just expanded. I had a whole bunch of cities, and you just had, like, this perfect defensive posture with a bunch of ancient-era units, and I was just going to try. And I think that in what I did in that game was not the right play, according to conventional wisdom, which is I had the upper hand. I have to press the attack. But I knew that you would be ready for me, so why do I want to send my guys? It's easier to defend than it is to attack. So why do I want to send my guys into a meat grinder? Even if I can overwhelm you with numbers, there's still battle luck. I mean, like, say you put an archer army in there, and the first time I attack, you don't take any wounds, and you get veteran. And then I attack again, and this time you get engineer upgrade, and you quickly heal your army. And so now you've got whatever the heck it is, like 21 defense or something like that. Yep. And now I'm down to 2 Legion armies. And, so the point is that the best strategy, quotation marks around best, can be defeated by a lesser strategy. Let's put quotation marks around lesser as well. Yeah. You have to have your head in the game. You can't just be like, well, this is the best strategy, I'm going to play the best strategy so that I'll win. If you have any respect at all for your opponent will be able to do things. I think that also everybody's favorite moves kind of cycle around a little bit. Like, there are times when people are building more cities, there are times people are building fewer cities, there's times when people are horse rushing a little bit more, there's times when people are just building one horse army or being satisfied with a walk-in or a warrior rush or something like that and moving on to legions right away. I mean, there's so many options, but I think that trends also follow the options.
Yep.
Recorded for episode 42.
What do you do against the Spanish galleon fleet with the legions?
That's not easy. You need to press the Spanish right away before you can think about getting a galleon fleet. If you can basically run over the continent, save some money for roads, I guess, and just try to gold starve them. I mean, Spain's a very strong civ. Spain with a good start, it can win any game.
They're so fast, the galleon fleet.
Yeah.
That makes me get into my Spanish strategy. What I do is I never horse rush with the Spanish. Like, other than the first hut I get gives me horseback riding. And, now I horse rush. But I usually just do 1 galleon with 3 warriors on it. It's the same amount of hammers as a horse army. But, when you get the naming tiles and you can take down 2 or 3 barbs at a time, they just get so much money. So much money with them. You can also take out the AI with 3 warriors in a galleon. You just use the staggered attack with it.
And you can go vet with one of those warriors, maybe.
Right.
And then you've got your 5.5 warrior.
So I usually do that, straight bronze work, iron working. And once I get iron working, I just do straight money and go galleon fleet, single legions. Never army them up.
Okay.
But it's different if I'm playing against the Aztec because, of course, but if I'm not playing against the Aztec, the single legion, if I drop off 9 single legions in your territory and I have a galleon fleet, you can't win.
Yeah. Without a lot of luck.
Without a lot of luck, because even if you have a pikeman army, I can still kill it with 9 legions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what you would need to do then is have enough single units to hold out and have some counters. But 9 units, that's a lot.
Your problem with the counters is that his legions, now he takes like your cap or something and you've got a counter there, but now his legions are defending with like some pretty good defense with naval support.
Yeah, with the naval support, they defend really good.
You need to have your units inland as well so that he...
Yeah, of course.
The only trouble I have if I have the Spanish is if someone's really close to me and they just kill their horse on me before I can defend it. You're going to have trouble with anybody if they're really close to you like that.
Well, I mean, yeah, obviously you could lose right away, but you could also just be gold-starved by someone who pushes you out, doesn't let you through. And so if you have to defend a little bit before you can even get a galleon, and then to hammer out your galleon, that could slow you enough to where you're not going to be able to pull that maneuver off. But, I mean, that's going to work till fairly late in the game. I have a question for you in that strategy, though. Are you moving your settler very much, or are you...
Oh, yes. Yes, I move my settler, but I'm definitely not whale hunting. I'm just looking for money, and I definitely want a one-flag barb. If I get a one-flag barb, I'm usually going to get money. Sometimes they give you a tech that slows me down. But if I can get a one-flag barb and get 50 gold and have a warrior in a galleon on the 4th turn...
Yeah.
Also, naming tile. Naming tile is huge for Spain.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, so let me ask you this. There's a good spot by a barb that has a whale. So you end up growing. Would you, at any point in this strategy, consider expanding? Or maybe put your 100 gold city on a whale? Would you just work the whale and grow? Or would you consider expanding?
See, I really want 3 cities at least.
Okay.
With my first galleon that has 3 warriors on it, I'm getting money like it's a horse army.
Mm-hmm.
I'm moving real fast with it.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing to add is that if I make it an army, if I make it a warrior army, and it's a vet, it overruns barbs. It actually overruns. Right. It's like a horse army, so I'm getting money with that. And if I got enough money, I'm doing a little expanding. Sometimes you get a map so good with the Spanish, you can have 5 cities like so fast. It's just crazy with the whale growing so much.
Yes.
To answer your question, yes, I do want to expand at the same time. I want to expand. And, I want to give me an early barracks to get my legions going. I'm doing all that at the same time. But when it all boils down to it, I want to come to your neighborhood with at least 7 or 8 single legions.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've watched some people play with the Spanish. They always army up their legion.
Right.
But there's no reason to. Because say I got 8 single legions and I attack once, twice, 3, 4 times. It still doesn't work. I can army up now.
Yeah.
To clean you up. Now, that army will probably beat you.
Are you going to, when you land your 8 legions, you're going to land them on separate squares, or do you manage so that you attack 1, 2, and then you can merge together units, the active unit, with the 2 ones that have got movement points used?
Depends if he has an archer army in the city, because, I have a scout so I can see in there. If he doesn't have an archer army in the city, maybe 4 of them, I'll drop them off. That'll work.
Yep.
Just 4 single ones, because they hit with about a 8, but they hit with 3 hit points, that's like a horse army.
Yeah, right. So it's obviously advantageous to have a vet galleon fleet over a non-vet. Does it matter to you very much whether your single legions are vet? It's a 2 or a 3.
Right. Every time I do it, I do have some vet legions. So when I make the army...
Yeah, sure. But when you're attacking with a single one, you have some non-vet ones mixed in there. Do you notice much of a difference?
Not really. It's not that much of a difference because it's not that many more attack points, just because it's a vet or not. I might have only 3 vet and 6 non-vet. Mm-hmm. I do bring vet just in case I have to army up. I do want it to be a vet army. But when I'm doing the single attack, it doesn't matter if it's a vet. Anybody that's listening to this, just try this strategy. The
galleon fleet adds 6, right?
I think it adds 6. You get Samurai Castle, you can just kill
Yeah. Or fundamentalism, too. But fundamentalism doesn't add to your naval support. It just adds to your... But still, it's very useful.
It definitely is. But if I can take out the Arabs early...
Yeah. High-value target there.
That's one thing about the Spanish. I could be behind 20 to 5 in techs. If he doesn't have, riflemen, my legion armies could take 4 or 5 of his cities, and I'm right back in it now.
Yeah.
Mort made that point on his strategy. It doesn't matter what time it is or the tech lead. If you can a nice attack force over there to his territory, and, if he's not a good player, he's not going to have the counters. But if he has 3 or 4 cat armies just waiting for you to come over there, he's going to shred through your attack anyway. But still, his point was, don't worry about if it's 0 AD. Should I already have 10 cities and be switching to democracy? That's not the point. If you're so far behind, you got to come over there with a nice attack force and Hail Mary.
For more information about RevCast, sibling shows PolyCast and Modcast, or about PolyCast in general, log on to the series' official website at thepolycast.net. Record dates assorted 2012.
Civilization Revolution sound clips copyright Take-Two Interactive.
Copyright Civilized Communication at civcom.net.